Hey guys. So for this past week, I've been focusing on my sixth and final attribute, which is Fortitude. And I was debating whether to use armor and then have magical resistances throughout the game, but I decided it was more simple just to use Fortitude to increase physical and magic resistance. So instead of putting armor as a stat, I just made physical resistance the way to reduce physical damage versus armor. It kind of works with the itemization system that I have too. So I'm going to leave it for now. But basically, as the player levels up, one of the attributes is Fortitude, and with each point, it will add. I think every 10 points will be about 1% damage reduction for all physical and also magical resistances. So this UI needs to be updated because I'm kind of going back and forth with how many different elements. But right now on the screen we have physical, we have water, fire, dark, earth, and lightning. Before I go into the testing of this, I'll just go into the scripts and show you a little bit of what's working behind the scenes. So if you go to the character stats script, I have dark, earth, fire, holy, lightning, physical, and water. So the plan was just to have earth, fire, water, but then I kind of wanted to add the warlock class, warlock to like summon skeletons, and similar to like the necromancer class in Diablo 2. So in order to um, kind of balance it, I wanted to have a strength and a weakness. So dark and holy would be opposite. So uh, the other elements would be earth would be strong against lightning, fire against earth, uh, and water against fire. Similar to the Pokemon strengths and weaknesses. And the plan is for water or fire, whatever element type the enemy is, they'll have a higher resistance to that element. And for example, if you're attacking um, an earth type enemy, they're likely to have lower fire resistance, and therefore you'll be doing more damage against that particular type. So that's how I'm going to handle it right now. Um, so whenever the player takes damage, there's a value and then there's a damage type. So going down, let's say you go to NPC weapon, which is right now set to physical damage. So based on the enemy stats of current damage, the player will take damage. It'll be a physical type, and that will go into the player take damage method. And over here is where it says damage taken is equal to the reduced damage based on the value and the damage type. So if you go to the reduced damage, it's pretty much just whatever the incoming damage is, the type of the damage, reduced by whatever the current resistance is of the player. So that's basically it. Right now I just have pretty much physical. I also just added in the bonfire the area effect damage, which eventually will have different kind of spells and things like that, which will cause area of effect damage. So the bonfire, I made a script here for, and it will do obviously fire damage with a random range of 5 to 10 and knock back the player a little bit just to uh, signal that he's been damaged by something. So that's pretty much it for the script side of things. And now we'll go into the testing. All right, so we are back. So for the testing phase, I wanted to do 15, 150, and 300 fortitude and see the damage reduction of each. So for the first part, I have some copper armor and chainmail and helmet, which will boost the fortitude to about 33, which is around 3% damage reduction. Um, I will eventually work on the actual combat system, but right now I'm just trying to get the damage and everything set. So for this testing, the bandits actually do 10 damage, and it's actually a random range between 7 and 10. So it's not all that much damage reduction because it's only 10 damage. I mean, if it was they were doing 100, you might see the 3%, but and then sitting in the fire, same kind of thing because physical resistance is the same as the fire. Now items will eventually have specifics like fire resistance only, or which will be less valuable than the fortitude, which increases all resistances. But um, but as you go higher up in level and get more damage dealt to you, it becomes more and more valuable. Either one, fortitude or the individual resistance stats. So this is 150 fortitude. Decided just to stand in the fire instead of doing 8 9 damage. You're seeing it's like 5 6 7, and then same thing from the bandits. You see like 7 damage, 8 damage, which is a little bit of a reduction. The first few tiers, by the way, of like metal armor is going to be copper, iron, and steel, which will be able to be crafted from the ore that you mine. Then finally, in the third test, 300. So this is more significant, obviously. 30% damage reduction. I'm using my axe without material on it right now. But you can see he's doing lower. They're doing lower damage to the player. So you got 7, 6, 5. So everything is working right now, basically. And I'll have to work on the balancing, but right now everything seems to be working as intended. So for next week, and I was fooling around with like the universal render pipeline and the high definition one on the past few weeks, and the universal one, I mean, the FPS is so much better. I was getting with only like um, really nothing in the scene. I was only getting like maybe 20, 30 frames per second with the high definition pipeline. But with the universal one, I've been getting like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80. And that's with, enemies with really unoptimized scripts using void update a lot. Um, so for next week, I'm going to kind of clean up some of the stuff I've done in the past and fix some of the materials that are messed up and work on my 2-year progress video. This part here is a little bit of what I've been working on, trying to improve the farming systems that I did last year, and I finally got the trees to actually fall realistically, which I think I'll show probably next week, because they were hitting the player, they were bouncing, and all this kind of stuff. But that's about it. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.